Well, Tel El Amarna is the modern name of a site in Egypt. It's basically halfway between Memphis at the south end of the delta, and Thebes way down in the southern end of the Nile River.
At Palmakim Beach, Israel. Archaeologists have just uncovered something no one dared to imagine: an intact tomb over 3,000 years old, still holding hundreds of extraordinary artifacts. Inside, ancient pottery vessels are arranged in a circle around the remains. At the center lies a scarab engraved with the name of Pharaoh Thutmose III, the great king of Egypt. On the stone ceiling, faint symbols reflect light in a way that no Canaanite tomb has ever shown. The chamber door opens toward the west, the direction of the sea, and also the direction of death in Egyptian beliefs. Archaeologists call this the coastal Amarna tomb. When examined at dusk, they noticed the sunlight streaming straight through the arched doorway and reflecting onto the scarab engraved with Pharaoh Thutmose III's name. This phenomenon aligns perfectly with the western direction, the path to the afterlife, as seen by the Egyptians. Experts believe this alignment with the West may be part of a deliberately designed funeral ritual, rather than mere coincidence. Could it be that the ancients built this place not to bury, but to resurrect? In the 14th century BCE, under the reign of Thutmose III, Egypt controlled the entire region of Canaan, the strip of land between the desert and the Mediterranean, between the Nile Empire and the Levant Sea. Here, Yavneyam became a strategic port, recorded in the Amarna letters as Muhazu. Not just a trade hub, it was a crossroads of beliefs where Egypt's Isis met Canaan's Baal. Osiris encountered Resheph. In one excavation near Palmakim Beach, archaeologists discovered an intact stone chamber tomb cut deep into the seaside cliff, square in structure, with a vaulted ceiling and a central pillar. Inside, over 140 pottery vessels, amulets shaped like bez, and scarabs engraved with Thutmose III's name, all arranged along a western axis, the direction of the setting sun. Also, the gateway to the afterlife in Egyptian beliefs. Though situated in Canaanite land, every detail in the tomb adheres to Egyptian standards: the construction method, the orientation, and even the language of symbols. Researchers believe the tomb's owner was a local official deeply influenced by Egypt. Living between two identities, politically Canaanite and devoted to Isis, could a local official, half Canaanite, half devotee of Isis, have built this tomb as a portal of entry for the soul to return to Egypt, the homeland of the gods? Inside the stone chamber tomb at Yavneyam, over 140 pottery vessels are arranged in a crescent shape around the bodies. This layout is no accident. It reflects a ritual of order and clear symbolic meaning. Most of these vessels are not of local origin. They come from Cyprus, the Aegean region, and even along the Nile's banks, in the Amarna period. These were the greatest trade centers of the ancient world, but instead of just holding wine, oil, or spices, many contain ash, animal bones, and partially burned organic residue. Chemical analysis reveals some hold traces of lamb meat, sea fish, along with a mixture of resin and manganese components that could react mildly with humidity, generating faint heat and a distinctive aroma when the ritual took place in the tomb's enclosed space. These reactions caused a slight temperature rise, creating a sensation of warming around the body, an effect the ancients might have seen as the awakening of the soul. Outside the tomb door, layers of ash and charred bones intermixed with broken pottery shards prove the ritual didn't end inside. The living ate, drank, and prayed right on the ground before offering the remains to the dead, a true funerary feast. They both bid farewell and reenacted the bond between two worlds, the human and the divine. To archaeologists, it might just be chemical coincidence, a natural phenomenon when resin and minerals interact with air. But to ritual anthropologists, this is clear evidence of myth reenactment, humans attempting to mimic the resurrection journey of Osiris, the god who dies and revives beneath the earth. Each pottery vessel, each streak of ash, each burning of lamb meat carries symbolic weight, warming the soul before its departure. And as the final light streams through the tomb door, the prayer concludes, leaving in the air the scent of pine resin, charcoal, and the belief that life doesn't end, but merely transforms into another form. If trade brought goods to Canaan, then ritual brought along Egypt's entire spiritual world. But did those who crafted these rites truly believe they were reenacting mythology, or were they merely experimenting with something beyond the human realm? When archaeologists reconstructed a 3D map of the Yavne Yam chamber tomb, one detail stood out. The entire tomb axis is precisely aligned with the northwest, where the sun sets on days near the summer solstice. In Egyptian beliefs, that's the direction of Duat, the world of the dead, where the sun passes through to revive at dawn. Not just a geographical coincidence. As the last afternoon light shines through the arched gateway, it beams directly onto the position of the scarab engraved with Thutmose III's name, placed right in the center of the floor, like a seal of divine authority. In that moment, the light reflects off the stone's blue glaze, creating a strange, shimmering effect, leading some researchers to call this an ancient optical ritual, a fusion of light, symbols, and religious faith. From initial measurements, the tomb's axis has a 24-degree northeast angle, matching the direction of the star Sirius, the sacred star linked to the goddess Isis, symbol of life and rebirth. For the Egyptians, Sirius's appearance in the summer sky marked the new year and the Nile's flood season, the time of renewal. If this was intentional design, then this Canaanite tomb is not merely a burial site, it's a ritual astronomical structure, a bridging device between human souls and the gods. But the most controversial aspect lies in the stone material itself. When the Israel GeoLab team tested with acoustic sensors, they found the wall stones respond to low-frequency sounds. The echo lasts nearly 4 seconds, unusual for a small chamber tomb. Some researchers attribute this to the vaulted structure combined with the central cavity. But ritual anthropologists see something else. The sound resembles underground chanting, as if the space was designed to amplify prayers. The more they study, the more it's clear that every detail in the tomb ties to the concept of connection light guiding the soul, sound setting the rhythm for the ritual, stone and metal retaining energy. This is no longer a simple burial chamber, but a structure operating under the ritual order of two civilizations, pragmatic like Canaan, yet sacred and symbolic like Egypt. So the question arises, did those who built this place truly believe that light and sound could open a path for the soul? Or were they merely attempting to recreate divine power with human hands? In 2025, the archaeological team from the Israel Antiquities Authority IAA began detailed excavations of the chamber tomb at Yavne Yam. They used photogrammetry and geochemical scanning to analyze every layer of soil, every artifact. The results left the team perplexed. The temperature inside the tomb is nearly 2 degrees Celsius higher than the surrounding environment, despite no recorded heat source. Air sample analysis shows the presence of natural resin, manganese, and copper compounds, a mixture that can generate exothermic reactions when exposed to moisture. In other words, the ritual items buried in the tomb created heat, slowly but steadily. This phenomenon has been noted in Egyptian tombs, where materials like aromatic resin, copper, and natron interact with air to warm the mummy, seen as a sign of resurrection. However, at Yavne Yam, there are no mummies, only ash, bone fragments, and shattered pottery. Thus, this effect couldn't serve preservation, but perhaps held symbolic meaning, simulating the process of the soul being activated before departing to the afterlife. When the data was published, chemical experts dismissed it as a natural reaction, occurring due to the humid climate of the Levant coast. But ritual anthropologists see it differently. They argue these Canaanite Egyptians created a deliberate reaction to reenact Osiris's awakening, the god who dies and revives beneath the earth. Additionally, the acoustics research team from the Israel Heritage Center recorded a slight resonance effect inside the chamber. When sea winds blow through the arched door, they produce a low frequency around 18 Hz, a level hard for human ears to detect, but capable of inducing chills or disorientation. Many researchers suggest that, in an ancient ritual context, this effect could make participants sense a supernatural presence, a spiritual experience triggered by natural sound. The combination of heat, sound, and light in the same space leads archaeologists to call this the tomb of resonance, not just between matter and energy, but between two worlds, life and death, humans and gods, Canaan and Egypt. However, not everyone buys into it. Many traditional archaeologists warn that assigning mystical meanings to natural reactions could distort scientific facts, but whether chemical reaction or deliberate ritual, the coincidence between science and myth in this tomb is undeniable. If ancient humans truly knew how to awaken the soul through matter, then could those stone walls not merely bury the dead, but also preserve a formula to bridge the two worlds? When the excavation team reconstructed the tomb structure, one standout detail emerged: the entire entrance points straight toward the Mediterranean Sea. For the Canaanites, the sea was the boundary of chaos. But for the Egyptians, it was the gateway to the afterlife, where the sun extinguishes and souls begin their journey of rebirth. Standing from the tomb door, looking out, the twilight light floods straight into the chamber for a few minutes each day. At that moment, the surface of the Thutmose III scarab, positioned right in the center of the floor, begins to reflect a pale golden glow. No mysticism needed. This phenomenon alone would convince the ancients that the divine king was overseeing the ritual. This scarab bears the cartouche of Thutmose III, the pharaoh who once conquered Canaan, turning this land into an extension of the Nile Empire, placing it at the tomb's axis facing west. Where the sun sets is a declaration in stone: the soul will return with the god Ra. Not far away, a bronze vessel shaped like the god Bes was found in the tomb's corner. In Egyptian mythology, Bes is the protector of women and children, the one who drives away evil spirits with drums and sounds. At Yavne Yam, he appears as the guardian of the passage between worlds, a symbol of protection as the soul emigrates. On the stone walls, faint carvings remain: curves, dots, and marks resembling a crude five-pointed star. Spectral analysis shows these are from metal tools, not natural. Archaeologists believe they may mimic the constellations Sirius or Orion, two symbols tied to the soul's rebirth journey in Egyptian beliefs. But one thing particularly intrigues researchers: the tomb floor is paved with dark blue-green sea stone, the same material often used in ancient Egyptian temples. When twilight light hits it, the surface reflects a watery glow, making the whole space feel both submerged and adrift, as if one standing there is between two realities, land and sea, life and death. Archaeologists might call this symbolic architecture, but through ancient eyes, it's a ritual machine where light, sound, and matter operate together to guide the soul across the threshold. And as the sun sets, waves crash against the cliffs. Those echoes blend with the wind in the chamber, creating a tone researchers call the stone's soul summons. If every detail in the tomb points toward the sea, could the ancients have believed that the soul would truly depart that way, sailing west, back to Egypt, the homeland of the gods? Now, looking back at the entire Yavne Yam chamber tomb, one realizes it's not just a piece of archaeological history, but a moment of intersection between two worlds, between science and faith, Egypt and Canaan, life and death. The first layer is practical. This is rare archaeological evidence of Egypt's profound presence in Canaanite land, from the Thutmose III scarab, the Bes vessels, to the Egyptian-style construction techniques. All reveal a network of influence far beyond trade. These items weren't just bought and sold, they were integrated into rituals, becoming a symbolic language for humans to redefine the boundaries of existence. But the deeper layer is the fusion of beliefs. Here, Egyptian gods are reenacted by native Canaanites in their own way. They didn't build pyramids, didn't embalm bodies, but they preserved the essence of rebirth: fire, sound, light, the West, and the sea. All become tools to retell the eternal story, the story of the soul's journey. Some researchers call Yavne Yam the coastal Amarna, because it mirrors the era's spirit of blending, when beliefs no longer belonged to one civilization alone, but became humanity's shared language. There, a trading port didn't just export goods, but symbols, religion, and even the fear of death. Modern science can measure heat, light, and frequencies, but it still can't answer what did the ancients think when they aligned the tomb axis toward Sirius, or when they placed a scarab in the stone's heart. Was it divine ritual, or merely human reassurance against the void? And perhaps that's the true power of this tomb. It forces modern people to acknowledge that, even in the Bronze Age, humans sought to turn death into a dialogue with the universe, not with words, but with matter, with stone, with light, with vibrations that we can still feel thousands of years later. The Yavne Yam tomb doesn't just bury the dead, it buries the idea that two civilizations could converse through ritual. And perhaps, in the moment the last sunbeam floods the chamber, something, a soul, a memory, or just a sound, truly crossed the border between two worlds, Could that be their ultimate purpose, not to leave the realm of the living, but to prove that the separation between worlds was never permanent?